Yay, there's Michaela.
All right,
Welcome.
glad it worked.
It's so nice to see you. I'm so excited to go live with you this evening and talk about breast cancer boudoir. I was just telling everyone before you came on, you can't see my learn, look, locate, that Michaela and I met very early on when I started Learn, Look, Locate, and I've been kind of following her story, I guess, really when you were first diagnosed. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I started, oh gosh, I started the breast cancer. It used to be known as Breast Cancer Boudoir. And I started that page when I was actually recovering from my double mastectomy. So that was kind of further into my journey. But I did start posting a lot on my personal page, I think earlier on, and I think we had connected through that to begin with, even Cynthia. So yeah, you've been there, right from the start, honestly.
Your posts are extremely inspiring, empowering, powerful, insightful, authentic. Shall I go on? And you took your journey into a place that I think is really unique and special. And that is why I wanted to talk to you this evening, because I feel, and I'm going to get emotional, that globally that you can have an impact on young women because of how you turned your pain into incredible purpose. And I think as a woman, and especially a young woman, to go through what you've gone through and to be able to do what you're doing is beautiful. I mean, you really are, just unraveling this darkness into beautiful, pink streams of, femininity and rebirth. And God knows it's hard enough, right, Michaela? I mean,
It is so hard. I mean, there's so much that is baked into this diagnosis that I think goes, unrecognized or isn't really talked about as much. Just these emotional challenges that we all experience going through it. And I mean, everyone's experience varies. But to the core of it, there is always this some level of emotional difficulty that we experience, and often surrounding for younger women, especially, is that what will my body look like?
yeah. Yeah. And so with that, I think we should just really dive into why I think we're all touched by some bug. I'm on the education bug, like I can't stop. You started this incredible journey to not only for yourself. What's really lovely is you're going to be giving back with your organization, and we're going to talk about that. And I just want everyone to know that Michaela and I are working closely, and I'm going to have this on my website so that women are aware of what Breast Cancer Boudoir has done for her and a lot of the lovely ladies that you've worked with. And in addition, Michaela is on my website under Confidence with Courage, and I'm honored to have you there because it's really unique on sharing her story and how she is using boudoir photography to help women cope with the changes in our body. And I think even personally, when I saw you kind of just facing your diagnosis and the struggle, it helped me. I'm older, and sometimes I feel like, who needs this body anymore? And, I just don't care as much. And when I saw you as a young woman being able to battle this so well, it's just so inspiring. So I'm going to stop rambling, and I want you to talk about, kind of why you turned to boudoir first. If you would share that with us.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for featuring everything on your website. I really appreciate that, Cynthia.
Of course.
And again, thank you for being there and being such a huge support, from the beginning of it, really. For me, honestly, I had not planned on this becoming what it's become at this point when this all started. When I got my diagnosis, like many of us, I felt those insecurities about what is my body going to look like. And not only that, but also what are these things that I'm being told to choose between? What will those actually look like for me? And how will I feel in my body if, I choose option A, option B? And, there was just kind of a lot of questioning around that for me. And I, couldn't even think that far, to be fairly honest with you, as many of us can, right? I mean, we're so overwhelmed with everything when we get that diagnosis. So for me, I wanted to just kind of memorialize just this body that I was born with, the body that is, what I've always known it to be, right? And it started out with just that boudoir session, at diagnosis before treatment, and hadn't planned to go any farther with it. But then I started to find that all of these things that I was so terrified of, like losing my hair, which is still a very, very emotional experience, but there are empowering elements to it too, like, oh my gosh, I do not have to take so much time in the shower anymore, right? I walk right out of the shower, I'm ready to go. Like, that's kind of awesome, right?
Yeah.
So just kind of these little things that I started to find that just kind of started building up this confidence for me, and kind of just trying to find, brightness in all of these little moments. And then I'm like, I think I'm ready to kind of try to show my journey. And for me, with the way that my interventions were approached, everything was very staged. I was diagnosed during COVID, so there were restrictions on surgery. What was supposed to be, double mastectomy was recommended. That was what I was planning on getting. I was going to do chemo, go to lumpectomy, go to the double mastectomy, and be done with it in that full shot. But we weren't sure about whether surgeries would be able to be performed. So we had to go in and get the cancer out right away. So I had a lumpectomy. Then I went through chemotherapy. And then I knew, like, going into all of this, I'm going to have a double mastectomy at the end of this. And I am going through all of these changes. First of all, that's a lot for me to process,
Right.
At once, and to deal with emotionally. So I'm going to need to find a way to work through that myself. But also, there is an opportunity in this, for me to at least be able to show what all of these things will look like. Because, my options that I was given at first were lumpectomy, single mastectomy, double mastectomy, and that was what was laid out to me. And I just kind of picked that one. And then life kind of picked for me to go through it slowly. And it felt like a way for me to share that journey, with others, and be able to show, this is what it looked like to start with. This is what it looks like with the lumpectomy. I went flat for a while after my mastectomy, so this is what my flat closure looks like. My double mastectomy photos were taken 3 days after my mastectomy, in fact, so I had surgical drains and everything still. But even that was really empowering for me to see myself in that way, right? Because that is one of those most vulnerable moments in your journey where you're not feeling well. And for me to still be able to look at these pictures and see this art that my friend had created from it, I cannot say enough how instrumental that was for me healing that whole body image concern that I had to begin with. And so I wanted to share that with the world. And basically that's what I decided to do when I felt comfortable, when I was feeling okay enough in myself, to start putting that out there, which was after the double mastectomy. I think still had some anesthesia in my body. So I was a little bit emboldened by that. I was still in the hospital when I first started the page, in fact. But, it felt like a way for me to really just share this something that, turning meaning out of something that is so difficult and being able to share that experience with others. So.
And if you could share, Michaela, how old were you when you were diagnosed?
I was 28. I was 28 years old. I was recently divorced. My divorce had been finalized, I think, within the past year, just previous to that. And there was, there was a lot of a lot of insecurity to begin with, you know, and then to have that diagnosis on top of that. It was a really difficult time in my life. Absolutely.
And you were diagnosed with metaplastic, correct? Which is a very rare form of breast cancer. I want to draw attention to that.
Yes, yes. So I was diagnosed with triple negative metaplastic breast cancer. It is extremely rare, as you said. Less than 2% of breast cancers, you know, meet that qualification. And I guess what's uniquely aggressive about these tumors is that they don't look like a regular, you know, breast cancer tumor where it has abnormal breast cancer cells only and you know, normal ones mixed in there. No, mine had like muscle tissue mixed in there or something. So the metaplastic means that the cells have changed into something completely different than what they were intended.
And no family history? No family history.
No family history. No family history, so nothing to explain where this would have come from. And like I said, you know, it's a very aggressive and very kind of, there's not, I mean, you follow kind of the general treatment guidelines that you would for any other type of breast cancer, basically, because there are a lot of, you know, specific like subtypes of breast cancers out there.
Right.
But you know, still there wasn't really this I guess defined approach for it. So that also kind of added a little bit of, you know, the element of the flexibility into kind of the way that we approached my treatment, in that, you know, actually, hey, maybe surgery, this case study says that surgery is recommended that we go first. So why don't we go with that anyways, since, you know, we know that we can perform the surgery, at least right now, get the cancer out and then worry about the rest of the stuff later on. So
now I know your story well. I think your cat found your cancer. Is that correct?
Yes, my cat is the one who found my cancer.
Tell us.
She was curled up in my armpit in bed one night and just kind of kneading her paws at my side, you know, going down my side, and I felt her hit something hard. And, you know, 28 years old, no family history of breast cancer.
You're not thinking of breast cancer, right? You're not thinking at all.
Yeah, no, it was not even a thing that had really crossed my mind, you know, except for leading up to the annual gynecologist appointment, haphazardly, oh my gosh, you know what, I should perform a breast exam so that I can say that I perform a breast exam.
Right.
Because they're going to ask me about that, and I'm going to feel guilty about it if I haven't. So, you know, it was really just not something that I thought about. And, you know, thank God my cat was just, you know, kind of diligently pawing her way down my side, and I felt it. It felt abnormal. I tried to talk myself out of it for a little while because I'm young. I have no family history. So I kind of put it on the back burner in my mind for a couple weeks. The cat didn't give up, though. She kept at it.
Has she ever done it before, Michaela?
Had
the cat ever done that before?
She, you know, she would always kind of paw, you know, at my sides usually. And I remember, I do remember it kind of starting like at some point, like a while before that. But I hadn't noticed anything painful about it, I guess, up until that one night that I felt her hit it. Yeah.
Painful? Was it painful?
It was painful. Yeah. So I actually felt pain, which is abnormal. And, you know, for me, mine was a very pronounced, very, you know, very weird, very ugly bump, which again is that characteristic of that metaplastic, because there's just so many things together that don't really fit together, mashed in there. And so it felt, you know, kind of just weird. But I still tried to talk myself out of it, right? Because I'm young, I have dense breast tissue, I have no family history. There's no reason that this could be breast cancer in my mind. And fortunately, actually, when I reached out to my doctor's office, they took me seriously. And, you know, because I may not have advocated for myself, honestly. I was trying to talk myself out of it. And I kind of had reached out just kind of like, I don't know if this is really a thing I should be worried about, and they were like, we're going to get you in for an ultrasound. And actually the nurse practitioner who had reached out to me had mentioned that she had a personal experience with young breast cancer. So that was, her reason for sending me for this referral, essentially. So it's interesting, that kind of cascade of events, because I think, had I been with another practice, judgment might have been completely different. So I am fortunate in a lot of ways. And I mean, the timing that I was diagnosed to, I was diagnosed on March 11th of 2020. So that was literally as everything was shutting down.
Yeah, it sure was. I remember that, for sure. Yeah.
So like I'm calling MRI centers saying that I need this, essential workup that I need for my baseline for my treatment, and I'm being told that this is not an emergency, this is not essential, you don't need this. We're closing our doors. Bye.
Oh, wow. I remember meeting you during COVID, but you know what? So many connected during COVID because we're all shut in.
Right.
And then, so here you are 3 years out, and I'd love to hear about your organization and how it's evolved. And again, I want anyone who's watching this to recognize the fact that Michaela was diagnosed at 28 years old, and that part of my mission with Learn, Look, Locate, I want to share, and why I do it the way I do it, is to attract or grab the attention of young women. Because I myself was diagnosed at 52, and I kind of feel like I'm that poster child, like this is what happens to you when you're 50. And it's not the case, in the sense that more and more of you young women in your 20s and 30s and early 40s are getting hit with this. And the interesting factoid here is both of us know, so no reason to think about this, but by Michaela sharing her story continuously and reaching out and sharing her advocacy work, and together we're trying to reach more and more women, at least to be empowered and educated. And I do see that someone saying that, and bear with me, I'm old, I can't see it all, but you were just diagnosed with breast cancer a few months ago, and I've had normal mammograms for a long time. And that was me. I had normal mammograms for the longest time, never once got an abnormal mammogram, and yet I had a walnut-sized tumor.
Mine didn't show up on my mammogram whatsoever. I was diagnosed, we knew that I had it, and I went in for the mammogram just as a procedural thing, and
wow,
it didn't even show up on the mammogram. So
here we are. I mean, with breast cancer, we do have screening and other things, but sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes we have a genetic mutation that, there's a lot of complexity around this disease that really needs to get to the forefront. So I think what's really neat and what we're all trying to do here is bring attention to all that's happening, but also the kind of the incredible edginess, the modeling of flat women, trying to break through to society, hey, we're here and we're not going anywhere, and unfortunately these numbers are growing, but we're pooling together to raise awareness. And so by working together, my goal with Michaela is to make sure that women understand there are pathways to the other side. And here you are, 3 years out. Can you tell everyone how you're doing and how the boudoir took you to this place where you're now smiling and I sense a lot happier, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, to back up to the person who said that they were just recently diagnosed, I'm sorry to hear that you're going through that. My heart goes out to you. And I hope everything goes well for you over the next few months, and we're here for you if you need us. We've got a big community. Cynthia and I are absolutely always willing to help women or connect women with other women who, just need a little bit of support. So, I'm doing well now, as you mentioned. I am very fortunate to be 3.5 years cancer-free now, in fact. So I'm very, very happy about that. I consider my cancer-free date to be the date of my lumpectomy. My margins were clear. There's a lot of gray area around that for me because treatment didn't go, as is traditional. So I didn't ever hear, did I get that pathologic complete response? Those terms weren't, applicable to me because the cancer was already out. So yeah. Anyways, sorry, let me back up. I got lost in just kind of reminiscing on how all of that kind of transpired. So currently now I am 3.5 years cancer-free, as I said. I celebrated actually my 3 years cancer-free with a trip to Hawaii that I took myself on by myself, which was really fantastic. Actually, highly recommend. Solo travel is incredibly empowering. So I enjoyed that very, very much.
That's awesome.
Yes. So sharing my story, I after I started putting my story out there, it felt nice to be able to help women, through my experience.
Sure.
But I wanted to do way more than just, share my own experience. I wanted to have that personal impact for women to have that experience by them, for themselves, to be able to see that transformation and look at themselves through that other lens and really be able to feel that same thing that I felt, get that empowerment and really have that same life-changing experience that I did. So we started by offering our first boudoir event back in October of 2020, which was very, controlled and all of that, right. Infection-wise. But we just kind of were cautiously introducing this and trying to get the word out there because, I can only show so much, with my own body. I don't represent all women out there. As you mentioned, Cynthia, you and I are very, very just different in terms of where we were at in our lives when we got our diagnosis. And breast cancer, in fact, it impacts women of any background, of, any size, any, even men it impacts, honestly. So it impacts everybody.
Yes.
And it felt like I wanted to be able to also show that, so that, people would be able to relate, because not everybody can relate to my experience.
Right.
And breast cancer, it's so very different for different people. So, so we launched that event, and then we've had 4 events since then. Focusing primarily on boudoir as that means of just really being able to get back in touch with that feminine side of yourself that you sometimes feel that you're losing, or that sexuality that you might feel is threatened by this disease when you first get your diagnosis. So it's a great way to really express yourself, and when you see those photos of yourself, and for me, in these different stages where I felt so vulnerable, and then for other women to be able to also experience that in these stages where they're feeling so vulnerable and feel so strong and empowered by it, it's really incredible to have that impact and be able to share it with other women.
Yeah, it's really nice to hear you say that. I had a friend who, she was a survivor and very dear friend, and she really loved doing boudoir. I mean, she put purple paint on herself and just glitter, and I think just really welcoming the new you, which I think for many of us is very hard to do. embracing the scars and embracing whether it be new boobs or no boobs, you know, is it's all very new. And so that's why I'm so excited to have you be part of one of the resources for Learn, Look, Locate. So women, even though you're in New York, I want to talk about that. I know Michaela is working hard to grow her organization so that women are aware in other places or even in other countries. My mission is global. So if we can wrap our arms around Italy and Greece and Mexico and Brazil and India and show all women what you're doing, Michaela, hopefully this will spin out to all countries recognizing and embracing boudoir photography as a way to embrace their femininity and hold on to it tight in a way that's empowering and gives people strength. Because that's what I saw in you when I saw your posts, you know?
Yeah, and so that, I mean, that's part of getting the word out there, right? Is just, you know, setting this example that this is something that's available, and, you know, showing that, hey, it can really be powerful and have these huge impacts and make a big difference. And, you know, maybe inspire women to consider it for themselves, to look into it for themselves, and hopefully inspire, you know, some giving people out there to also consider, you know, being a little bit more lenient on the breast cancer patients, and, you know, when they're approaching for like a session, you know, just considering the financial constricts of it as well too.
Like a gift, like a gift. Yeah.
Like a gift, yeah, like a kind of like a more of like a something that you can do to enrich the life of somebody else. So kind of like so just to kind of just set this example, really, of this is something that is really powerful, and at least, you know, provide the evidence that it can help, you know, real women have felt the benefits of this, and, you know, other women certainly can too. So, you know, that's the word that we're trying to get out there. Hopefully, and with time, you know, hopefully our organization will be able to grow and, you know, be able to also maybe facilitate some of that. Currently, we just don't have the resources, but we're working on building our organization, as you mentioned, Cynthia, and it's kind of, you know, from a grounds up operation. You know,
I know what it's about.
It's all breast cancer survivors are the ones who, you know, make up our board, with the exception of my friend, the photographer, who's been with me all along, and she provides all of her services, you know, as, you know, she contributes them as a donation to the project. So
Wow.
she's fantastic. We love her so much. And that's another thing I think I wanted to talk about here, is that it's important when finding a photographer to really find somebody who also you feel can relate to you, or on some level, or to your experience, or to at least have empathy even. You know, just somebody who can be a warm spirit for you, and be this kind of comforting presence. You know, Yolana, she coached me through the entire thing, cheered me on. I brought a friend with me for my first session because I was so nervous. And, you know, just having that kind of supportive energy around me was really, you know, it was what I needed, I think, to really make that experience, you know, what it was for me, and what we continue to provide for women with our organization. We love Yolana, but we can't replicate Yolana and send her all over the world. So, you know, look for these traits of somebody who's going to be warm, who you feel that you connect with, who you feel comfortable around.
So people can reach out to you, Michaela, to get some advice on how to find the right photographer.
Absolutely.
Because does it take a unique photographer to be a boudoir? I mean, it shouldn't just be any old photographer, right?
Right, yeah. I mean, you don't want, you know, the nature photographer to be your boudoir photographer, probably. And I mean, you know, even like, you know, oftentimes wedding photographers do, but not all wedding photographers do boudoir. You know, not the person who does all of your senior portraits and your family portraits. They might not be the one to also offer boudoir. So it's something that you really can, and I mean, you can easily look it up on the internet for what's in your area, but also we're absolutely willing to help people, you know, connect or locate photographers in their area who we think, you know, might be worth approaching at least.
That's awesome. That's really nice. I think one other thing to point out is a lot of young women are forced into menopause due to the treatments. And that's another area that can be really, you know, very hard on, you know, femininity and side effects. I mean, there's just a lot, right? So
right, yes. There's so much that goes into it, and we do have a few women who have done photo shoots with us who have experienced, you know, that part of the journey as well.
Right.
We have a few women who are 5 to 10 years out from breast cancer who have gone through those treatments. Yeah. So it's nice, and we have a couple pre-vivors as well.
That's wonderful.
Yes. So and actually, I think I saw Kara had joined us earlier. She said hi.
Yeah, Kara's on my website. I featured Kara a while back. Yeah, I saw that. She's part of your board, right?
Yes, she is. Yes.
Sounds like you have an amazing group of women. So does anyone have any questions or comments for Michaela and her advocacy work on breast cancer boudoir in New York? Anyone? Well, I'm going to share this, and then I'm going to share it. I'm going to share it on my feed. I'm going to edit it so that we can have it out there on YouTube, on the website, on another platform. I'm not going to say the name so Instagram doesn't get mad. And let the world know what you're up to, because to me, the more we can bring forward the positive, you know, just the advocacy work, because I think it takes a special soul to keep going with this and wanting to help. A lot of us, you know, some days I'm sure we all want to just keep going, but we know there's work. I don't like the word work, but we know there's some special silver linings out there that we found on our own that we want to share, and that's exactly what you're doing, Michaela. So I really respect that, and I'm really excited, you know, to share you on the resource page. I have another lovely lady in Canada who does free mastectomy tattoos. It's called Empower Inc. Her name is Karen. She's a pre-viver, and we're going to go live in October. And so you remind me of her just because she wanted something special and wanted to carry her pre-viver journey into a way that was empowering. So I love that there's so many neat things going on. I mean, Christine's modeling flat. I mean, you know, come on, this is progress, right?
Yes, it's incredible. It's incredible. And I'm really excited, as you said, you know, to get the word out there some more. And yeah, sorry, I'm still like apparently technologically inept at my ripe age of 31, because I'm like, I was getting all distracted by the comments and like reading the comments and trying to
that's what we do.
Straight a thought.
No, it's hard. I mean, what's really fun is I love going live because I find it so much more personal than throwing a post out there, and it's hard to get just the personal touch of comments. And I've never met you. You know, we've talked on the phone, but just to see you, and it's wonderful to ask questions so we all can learn from each other. And, you know, I sometimes feel like I'm the oldest one on Instagram, but I've learned a lot. I'll give you that. Learned a lot.
I feel like there's a lot more to learn out there, but that's what life's all about, right?
That's right. That's right. And we're here to support you. And anyone, if you guys have questions, you want to DM me, you want to connect with Michaela, I think it's also important as a 28-year-old woman diagnosed that she is sharing her story so that we can continue to let the world know that no family history. She has a very unique breast cancer had, and that we need to be vigilant. We need to be aware, and we need to educate our friends. They might think it might not happen, and by telling our stories, I know I've told my story to so many women, and even my editor said, I know so much more about breast cancer than I ever would have, and he has a girlfriend. So we're making an impact with this spillover effect, right?
It's, I mean, every person that you touch in this, in some way, I feel like it matters, and
It
just to
matters.
have that impact and
Yep.
to somehow, influence somebody's life or change your behavior, maybe have them think about, doing that breast check, or, looking into things a little bit more if something feels off. I think any impact that we have, any voice that we can get out there is important.